Hello everyone, it's Jay Huffman Jr. and today I'm doing a reaction video. I'm reacting to 10 scary theories of one of my favorite shows as a kid, and I still respect it today, Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. Now, before I do this, there will be no swearing over done bullshit. I'm attacking the video, not the person. So person, if you're watching this, whatever your name is, I'm not attacking you, just the video. And judging by the thumbnail right there, with Thomas having the face of Pennywise, impressions aren't that good. And oh man, it's ugly. And okay, so before I begin, I just want to say something. In 2018, we got Big World Big Adventures, a Thomas special where Thomas goes around the world with a rally car named Ace and an African engine named Nia. And in seasons 22 to 23, half the episodes, not in the order, revolve around Thomas going around the world, and the other half on Sodor. The Sodor episodes are nice, but the international, not so much. For season 24, only 5 episodes were the international ones, one for each country. And the other 21 were on Sodor, which I approve of. And seasons 25 to 26, the drivers and firemen are getting the boot, and also the narrator will also get the boot. And it's also 2D animation with 52 episodes per of the 2 seasons, and Thomas is the lead in all the episodes. Unlike in the first 24, where all the engines had a role. All the animation in there isn't that good. The stories could be nice. And seasons 22 to 24, I'll give Big World Big Adventures the special, and seasons 22 to 26 this. At least it doesn't have the awful rhyming, alliteration, or repetitionness of however you say that, of the Sharon Miller era that ran from seasons 13 to 16. There's still something original in every episode. And think of that video of the Pennywise's face on Thomas, his gray face. Think of it like a bad piece of media that literally makes the Emoji Movie look like Moana. Anyways, now let's get started. Sorry. Oh crap. Sorry. The camera's so good. Okay, and I'm gonna begin Let's start. Before we oh crap. This is actually my mom's computer. I can't actually use mine since I'm using that for a camera. I think that's good enough.
All aboard the train to Sodor, where the trains are mistreated and the town is run by a diabolical man.
Okay. 5 seconds in and we already have a problem. For one, Sodor's an island, not a town. 2, they're engines, not trains. And 3, Sir Topham Hatt is not diabolical. Plus, he doesn't run the Sodor. He's just the controller of the railway.
No, I didn't just make that up. That's basically what the show Thomas the Tank Engine is all about.
No, I think you made that up.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10, and welcome to today's video. I'm your host, Lindsay Ivan.
So that's your name.
And today I'm bringing you the top 10 scary Thomas the Tank Engine theories.
I don't think you can make a good version of it, even if it's an hour long, and you take into account everything. And, anyways, let's continue. I'm continuing.
So, Thomas the Tank Engine. Another show I would never have expected to be scary. But here we are. Again, let me know in the comments below which show you want me to do a theory on next. Starting off this countdown, we have the tortured trains.
What? Also, I forgot to mention this. Boko, the diesel engine, he's coming back in season 26. Andrew Brenner, who brought Thomas out of the Dark Age, with King of the Railway from 2013, wanted to bring Boko back soon, as well as Hank the American Engine, But Mattel, Thomas's current owner, said no because there's already too many males. They could even bring Duke back, the narrow gauge engine, whose relation to Peter Samus handle is pretty nice. I mean, it's been a while since he last appeared in season 7, about 16 years. So, anyways, let's continue.
Now, this isn't so much a theory as it actually happens in the show.
No. Look, that's from book 18 of the Railway series, Stepping the Bluebell Engine. And the Railway series is like a book containing 4 short stories of Thomas and his friends. One story equals 1 episode. And that's where, and it's like the trains are being tortured. Well, despite the cutter looking like, what should I cut first? We're not seeing it on screen.
So, basically, if these trains are deemed unworthy or are no longer useful, then they end up being scrapped or dismantled.
No. Okay. You just show an image of Henry the Green Engine. How could you?
AKA, they're killed. Throughout numerous episodes, you even see this happen.
Really?
There was one episode where they literally pulled the train apart into pieces. They hooked him up to another train, and that train kept going until they ripped him in half. Like, how messed up is that?
Okay. She's referring to either of 2 episodes. Toad Stands By, where Oliver, Duck, and Toad have a plan to teach Scruffy, a freight car, not a train, a lesson. So, Oliver makes a train of freight cars to Scruffy at the front, and the freight cars have their brakes on, and Oliver has the upper hand, or wheel, with sand on the rails, and he's pulling, and the freight cars are rolling back, causing Scruffy to be torn between them, and his mid-frame collapsed and his wheels buckled. And if you're referring to the other episode, Donald and Douglas, the episode, James is having trouble with the freight cars because of the spiteful brake van who dislikes the engines, specifically Donald and Douglas. Douglas, the Scottish twin, decides to help James, and James is trying to pull his train, but the spiteful brake van is holding him back, and Douglas accidentally pushes the brake van up into pieces. If he was pulling, it would be the opposite way.
Or you have a train that was turned into a generator and his corpse was stuck behind a shed. There he just lives motionless for the rest of his life.
That was Smudger. He was an uncaring, cocky engine who had over 500 accidents on the Mid-Sodor Railway. That's where Duke, Peter, Samus, Randall went before we were going to the narrow gauge part of Sodor. But anyways, and he had tons of chances to get his act together, but he didn't. And the manager made him a generator to make him useful at last. And there's also the possibility Duke just made up to keep Peter, Samus, or Randall in line. Now, before I continue, their relationship together is nice. Peter, Samus, and Randall are constantly annoyed by Duke's constant persistence on good behavior, yet at the same time they respected him, and he was like a father to them. And even though he could get annoyed with him at times, they deeply cared for their old grandpa.
The trains are terrified of this, or worse things happening to them, and they live in constant fear. In one episode, you have the train named Hyro.
Okay, it's a special called Hero of the Rails, not an episode. And it's Hero, not Hyro.
Hyro is shown living and hiding out in the woods, since he is terrified that he is too old and will be deemed useless and then murdered.
Hero was just put there just so he broke down and the workmen put him there so he could wait for parts from his island, which is Japan. I knew that ever since I was a kid, even though it was never said in the special. But anyways, and he was just there and he just thought he would be scrapped because he doesn't have the parts. And we just she clearly does not know Thomas and Friends. Next, she thinks this sighting is a deep fried conveyor belt. No, that would actually be pretty cool.
Or how about the episode where the manager of the railway totally...
No, it's not manager. It's controller. And it's her Topham hat.
...harassed the train James. He painted him pink so that people would just laugh and make fun of him. As a result, James was humiliated and spent the whole episode hiding in a tunnel.
No, that's not it. Sir Tom had to not paint James pink to humiliate him and ruin James' street cred. It was his undercoat. He was getting repainted. and Emily, who was going to take Sir Tom Hatt's granddaughter and her friends to her birthday celebration, broke down, and James was available since all the other engines were busy, and James just didn't want to be seen because he didn't want his reputation as the less manly engine. And he didn't just hide in a tunnel. He also hid behind trees and in freight cars. And Tickled Pink, despite being part of the Miller era, is pretty funny. I mean, I literally was on the floor.
How messed up is that?
Not really.
Coming in at number 9, we have the psychiatric hospital child.
The psychiatric hospital child. Wait one sec. Sir Tom Hatt laughed. Oh, ho, ho, you are wrong.
Now, people have a theory that Thomas the Tank Engine is literally just a child playing with his train set.
Must be a real expensive and big train set. Plus, why would he even allow a kid to play with highly expensive models?
I mean, this would explain why there's only one voice for all of the characters, and often it's in third person. It's the child explaining the story.
Most kid shows are in third person. Plus, if this is true, how could the kid sound like George Carlin, Alec Baldwin, Michael Brandon, Michael Angelis, Ringo Starr, Pierce Brosnan, and Mark Moran? The narrators. Plus, they... Okay, I'll get to it in a minute.
It also explains why the trains talk but don't move their faces, just their eyes. This is also why the human characters remain motionless.
Okay. The human characters were motionless in the first 11 seasons. Then in season 12 onwards, the humans and animals were CGI. And as for the engines, like, speaking but not moving their faces, do you mean their mouths? I mean, in season 12 onwards, the engines had CGI faces. They couldn't move more than just their eyes, though in other shots where, like, where something's blocking their face or something will fly in front of them, they have those kinds of faces right there. The face masks. And they were models. And the narrator played all the characters, but now it's CGI, and the characters now have their own voices. I mean, someone may play more than one character, like Joe Mills. He voices Donald, Douglas, Oliver, and Toad now. And William Ho plays Edward and Toby, and Carrie Shale plays Gordon and Henry.
So, people think...
And for their first point, she showed a clip from a CGI Thomas special, Hero of the Rail. No. King of the Railway, yeah.
That this child is locked in a psychiatric hospital, and the only toys he plays with are these ones. The child...
Oh, crap. Why would he only play with those? Maybe it's because they're his favorites, and he refuses to play with anything else. That could be a possibility.
Has a very sadistic mind and...
Yeah, she really makes Linda Blair from The Exorcist look like a regular kid.
Tortures these trains.
When has he ever done that?
In fact, the child imagines himself as Sir Topham.
Look at his face. He's like, oh! And who wouldn't imagine himself as Sir Tom Hatt? I mean, he's been a buffoon ever since 2016, I think.
The controller of the trains. He then lashes out at the trains, often destroying them.
Maybe he destroyed a couple, like the Spiteful Brakeman and Scruffy. But other than that, he hasn't broken any of them. And how would he be able to even get the technology to put the CGI faces on the engines, or make the CGI humans? Or even make it full CGI.
The hospital is trying to get the boy to control his dark thoughts through play, but he can't.
So he's basically the Joker's son. That's pretty cool.
So he always ends up killing the trains. At number 8, we have the trains are humans.
Yeah, I think she just took that from Shed 17 and Project G1 by Paul's Vids. Where the engines are humans and most of them die because their faces are there but their bodies are inside of the boiler thing. And they often die from accidents because their bodies are getting crushed and all their vital organs being destroyed. Yeah. I cannot witness the horror I saw on that screen. Also, don't watch it. I'll discuss some other theories why the trains have faces. Engines have faces at the end of this.
Yep, that's right. People have theorized that the trains were once real people. These people are now trapped inside the trains' bodies.
Wait, that's actually a deleted scene from the episode where Trevor and Edward throw a garden party with the vicar to raise money for a seaside trip, and Diesel there is apparently saying, "Oh, no one will come to the party," and they're like, "Oh, come on, don't be a buzzkill." Yeah, that's probably what they probably would have put.
And can no longer control themselves. They can only move their eyes, and they can't even speak on behalf of themselves.
I mean, in season 12 onwards, they could speak on their own. So I mean, like, "Blimey," said Oliver, "where did those come from?" And he's like, "Blimey, where did those come from?" I have no idea.
So, how did these people become trains? Well, people believe that Sir Topham is an evil scientist that had a bunch of henchmen working for him.
Yeah, she definitely. So she watched Shed 17 and Project G1, but not the show, or read the books.
Longer useful, he turned them into trains, and when they're no longer useful as trains, he kills them.
That's not true. Sir Tom has a marvelous man. He would never hurt, let alone kill anyone.
Another theory is...
And there's a theory later on that says Sir Tom had killed his teenage son Charles because, in her own words, because he says about doing something, making his girlfriend pregnant too young. Yep. Man, they're gonna have some fun with that. But anyways, that's yeah. What she says is adult joke, and next she'll do characters who said bad words. Yeah, this is bullshit.
Is that there was an explosion at a nuclear power plant.
What?
As a result, all the workers turned into these weird gray blobs with
What the?
everything being paralyzed but their eyes. Now, in order to preserve them, Sir Topham placed them on trains, and that's why the trains have gray faces.
Okay, here are some other theories. Okay, here's one by Dragonzilla that the engines are built faceless, but at night their faces appear by an unknown force. There's also the Shed 17 Project G1 Paul's Vids one that she mentioned. That's this whole thing's about. Then there's Railfan number 1 who says the engines in Rolling Stock are AIs, albeit AIs that actually have feelings and can actually not blast us to Kingdom Come. And there's the theory made by Victor Tanzig, who made his own series, Stories of Sodor, combining Thomas with Tugs as their realities. And this is what I'm using for my Thomas reboot that I'm making when I graduate from college. Spoiler. Is that when an engine and rolling stock are built, the face appears when they start the engine up for the first time, or the rolling stock are rolled for the first time and know their names, can read, think, and decide on their own. But I know the real reason why the engines and rolling stock have faces. Because their creator, the Reverend Robert Awdry, had an amazing imagination.
Moving on to number 7, we have the slaves.
Wait, what? Slaves? Oh, bullshit.
So, people believe that these trains are slaves.
What?
Every day they have to work their hardest to avoid death.
Okay, it's like if you work at like what Burger King and they're like, "Hey, insert name here. Can you get the burgers in the back and give it to the cook so we can serve to the customers?" And they're like, "Oh, that's slavery." And he's like, "No, it isn't." And he's like, "Yeah, it is. I know your game." And there's like in Powie James from season 20 where James wasn't working his hardest and yet he's still alive.
They're constantly worrying that they will be deemed useless, because once they're considered useless, then they're sentenced to death.
Okay, other examples are Ryan and Daisy, also from season 20, No Joke for James, and Rusty helps Peter Sam. And those, the engines don't work their hardest, yet they're still alive.
So, they all have been instilled with this fear in order to make them work harder. These trains are literally overworked, and they always have to do as they're told. Sounds like slavery to me. They don't get a say in the matter.
Okay. At season 7's Something Fishy, Arthur asks Sir Tom, "Oh, can I run the coastal line? Because Thomas, who's running it right now, hates fish, but I love fish, so may I please run it?" And Sir Thomas like, "Of course you can, Arthur." Yeah, that's my Sir Tom half voice.
It's literally, they work or they get killed. Coming in at number 6,
Okay, if Sir Tom had that philosophy, Edward and Toby would probably be the only engines on the railway. Maybe another. Maybe.
we have the apocalypse.
Okay, this isn't 100% wrong. Okay. The show probably takes place sometime in the 50s or the 60s. By the time of the 60s, steam engines were out of use on British railways, which is the other railway they constantly mention on the mainland, which is supposed to be England. And in 1968, steam engines were withdrawn and replaced by diesels. And in the 90s, diesels were replaced by electric engines. So on my Thomas reboot, Sodor is an island is a territory of America that just so happens to be by Britain. Not so between America and Britain.
So, this theory believes that this show takes place in a post-apocalyptic train depot.
That must be a really large train depot at that.
So, apparently this area is the only safe zone out there.
Okay, I mean, yes, it's one of the few places steam engines and outdated diesels can live without being scrapped, but she also forgot Stepney's usual home place, the Blue Bell Railway, that's located over in Sussex, and a few other heritage railways.
In fact, in one of the Thomas books, it reads, engines on the other railway aren't safe now.
Yeah, the other railways, British railways, and
their controllers are cruel.
And she proceeds to show a picture of Sir Tom Had. That bullshit.
They don't like engines anymore. They put them on cold, damp sidings, and then they cut them up.
No, Percy actually says, and then they cut him up.
How mortifying is that? And how is that even in a children's book?
Well, Wilbur Awdry wanted to be the series as realistic as possible. And the book was published sometime in the 60s, and the engines had this fight. And that had Stepney visit Sodor. And Stepney was saved by the Blue Bell Railway in the book, but in Rusty to the Rescue, Rusty saved Stepney. And Thomas and Stepney, Strange Styles Play, and Bowled Out are also part of the book. And even in 1968, Enterprising Engines, where it's about Goran realize about the engines proving themselves even though they're out of date, like Goran realizing the steam's done and his brother Flying Scotsman visits, and Henry gets tricked by Duck into pulling a bunch of dirty tenders. Then an unadapted story about Henry pushing and pulling two broken down diesels, one benevolent and one mean. The one where Douglas saved Oliver, and the one where Sir Tom Had who sees Flying Scotsman off and tells them that Oliver is gonna stay on the railway. That was actually the last part of Escape where Douglas is back at the sheds and Sir Tom Hatt gives him the news, minus Flying Scotsman, since he appeared in tender engines, but they couldn't afford to build his whole model. But anyways, back to our regular scheduled programming.
Now, this town still treats the trains pretty poorly. So
again, Sodor's an island, not a town. Plus, why would you say they're being treated poorly? I mean, Sir Tom had bought Welsh coal for Henry when he couldn't see him right, despite the coal being expensive, when he could have just sent Henry to the scrapyard. And like I just mentioned, he asked Goran's brother, Flying Scotsman, to visit Sodor when Goran was depressed. So how could Sodor treat the engines poorly?
So it makes me wonder, if we think that this is bad, then how worse is it outside of town?
Again, it's an island. Plus, I don't really know how it's worse. And that's from the Thomas special, The Great Discovery from Discovery. That's actually pretty good.
We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Thomas's PTSD.
What?
So, Thomas is probably the most well-known train out there.
Engine.
He's even described as being the cheeky one.
I mean, in the first 12 seasons he was. Now he's just useful and reliable. Yeah, seasons 1 to 12 were the best seasons of them all.
But turns out that Thomas actually suffers from PTSD.
I've been watching it for most of my life, and he seems just peachy.
So, let me give you the theorized background on Thomas. Thomas was built in 1915.
Okay, that's right. Though he arrived on Sodor in 1915. So around 1913, 1915, yeah.
During World War I.
We weren't even involved in that war until 1917. A full year until the war was... before the war ended, because they were going to reclaim a few of the states. I live in America.
That means he would have gone through intense labor during this time. Then later on you have the Great Depression, when railways were at their peak in the UK. Again, Thomas was overworked.
I don't think the Great Depression hit Sodor. It hit America, Britain, and other places, but not Sodor. They seem to be just peachy.
Then you have World War II, in which he saw his friends being blown up from bombs.
The only engines on Sodor back then were Thomas, Edward, Henry, Gordon, and James. And even then, he wasn't seeing the engines like, oh, Thomas, we're all going off to war, and you're staying here, and good luck with the work. Moron. And he didn't see them being blown up. I mean, there was other engines that are undocumented. And, of course, there's my own spin to it, which you'll see in my Thomas reboot, where Thomas was built and he has a it's complicated. I'll explain later.
Thomas has been through and witnessed a lot.
If you count crashing into a station master's house, getting fish in his boiler, and falling down a mine is a lot.
All of these factors has caused him to become traumatized. As a result, he has regressed and gone back to his childlike state. This is where he feels the safest. But it causes him to constantly act like a child, and he doesn't know how to stand up for himself.
Have you actually seen the show? Yeah, Thomas's current voiced by Joseph May, is kind of makes him sound like a teen.
Poor Thomas.
He's okay. He's just peachy. Okay, at the end I'll explain the whole model thing with the World War II engine thing.
In our fourth spot, we have the evil conductors.
Drivers.
Now, each train is said to be able to move only when they have a train conductor on board.
If you mean driver and fireman. I mean, at Thomas and the conductor, Thomas was going off just fine without the conductor. Yeah, oh crap.
This was proven in one episode where a train was whipping along fast on the tracks. He couldn't stop himself because he had no conductor.
You mean Old Iron, where James was going fast because his driver was taken out and his fireman went away to get a replacement. Then two boys got in his cab, fiddled with the controls, jumped off, ran, and I read to Edward trying to save James, and which he does, and James stops calling Edward Old Iron.
Now, the trains are also shown to do some dark things to other trains.
What do you mean?
Does that mean that the conductors
Whoa.
have complete control over the trains and their emotions?
Magic Railroad isn't canon. Besides, that's pretty like, whoa!
Well, yeah, that's what some people believe. So, in one episode, the trains are at a scrapyard when they decide to bully another train. They're literally scaring him and pushing him, threatening him that he is going to be scrapped.
If she's referring to Stepney gets lost, that's Ari and Bert. They tried to scrap Stepney, but Sir Tom Hat saves him. Again. If you're talking about Thomas, Percy, and Old Slow Coach, Thomas and Percy aren't making fun of Old Slow Coach, and Old Slow Coach is female. They're like, oh, you're getting scrapped? Oh, no. We'll try to save you. And they're like, you're being scrapped. Whatever. Enjoy the rest of your days. We know we will.
That means that the conductors were all behind this. And
maybe they were right about it being an AI.
wanted to torment that poor train. Then in another episode, the trains create and execute a plan to...
Again, it's Toad Stands By. Scruffy was a freight car. They rebuilt him at the end of the episode.
basically rip a train in half to teach him a lesson. Why are these conductors so sinister? They're literally forcing the trains to harm each other for their own amusement.
No, they're not.
Moving on, at number 3, we have the murderer.
And this is that theory I mentioned earlier. Oh, man, I do not like this one.
So, we've already established that Sir Topham, or as they call him, the Fat Controller, is out of his mind. And the Fat Controller is legit the name that they gave him.
That's his name over in the UK, but since I'm American, I call him Sir Topham Hat at all times, unless I say otherwise. So it's my reboot of Thomas and Friends, and I'm in control of it. It's my series, and I make the orders.
Just make that up. They literally call him the Fat Controller.
Hello, I'm Sir Topham Hatch, aka Jafetch Controller.
But people also theorize that he killed his child.
Oh no. That's it. Sir Tom Hat laughed again. Oh, you are even more wrong. My son's just okay. He and his wife moved away from Shodor.
So in one of the books, it is...
That's one of those one of those early books where it's like retelling an episode, and it's like the Fat Controller. Okay, let me change it. Let me just change that. Sir Topham Hat.
It's mentioned that Sir Topham has a son named Charles, but we never get to see him.
There's 4 Sir Tom hats. There's Bertram, the first one, Charles the second, Stephen the third, and Richard the fourth. And they're all in my Thomas reboot for more information.
Then in the episode called Tickled Pink...
So you have seen it. Then you would know that Sir Tom Hat didn't paint James to humiliate him.
We see Hat's granddaughter, but not her parents. His granddaughter is having a birthday celebration, so it's weird that her parents aren't present.
Or any adult for that matter. Look, kids are not with their parents at all times. Besides, even if her parents were killed or just moved away, she would have a legal guardian, maybe Sir Tom Hat and his wife, Jane. But so, it should be weird that any adult isn't present, not specifically her parents.
So, people are convinced that Topham ended up killing his son one day out of a fit of rage.
He was a teenager, too.
Maybe because he knows
What?
that
Oh, I refuse to hear this.
his girlfriend's too young. Who knows?
Do not add dirty jokes like that. Next, we'll be making top 10 Tom's characters who cuss on the show. That would be awful.
Then later on, we are introduced to a train named Charlie.
Many people can have different names,
And
man.
that's when people theorize that he killed his son and put his soul in a train. In fact, in one of the episodes, Charlie is shown to steal the Fat Controller's car.
No, that's not it. He and Edward were taking it to be repaired. If you're referring that he took it, well, Samson and Harvey did. Because Samson was being stupid and thought anything abandoned was scrap, and Harvey was just his wingman. And they did it unintentionally. Well, they put it in there, but they didn't know, so it wasn't abandoned.
Hello? That happens in like every teenage movie. A rebellious son is mad at his parents and steals his car.
Probably to make out with his girlfriend. Besides, I would never steal my parents' car. Besides, I suck at driving anyways. Yeah, if you see me on Grand Theft Auto, on the video game, if you see me play it, I suck. I mean, I crash the car every 10 seconds. Forewarning.
So, yeah, he's mad at his dad for literally killing him and making him trapped in a train.
So, he's getting his revenge.
In our second spot, we have Sir Topham is in love with Thomas.
No, he's not in love with Thomas. Besides, he has a wife named Jane, not Thomas. And look, he's like, yeah.
You heard me correctly. The Fat Controller has a weird obsession with this train.
Sir Topham Hat.
So, people believe this theory for many reasons. So, in one of the episodes, Thomas gets lost on his way to the mainland.
You mean England. Also, it's a special, either you're referring to Misty Island Rescue, Journey Beyond Sodor, or Big World Big Adventures, where Thomas leaves Sodor and all the engines are freaked out.
Everyone is searching for him, but Sir Topham is the most freaked out. He is so concerned that he has lost the love of his life.
No. Yet again, he has a wife named Jane, not Thomas. Besides, he's just the one we see the most.
As a result, he gets angry at the other train, saying that they aren't looking for him hard enough.
In Big World Big Adventures, during the whole Where is Thomas song, they're like, we don't know, sir. And Sir Tom says, well, keep looking. He's not like, you're not looking hard enough. You suck. Also, yeah, that was a funny episode where Sir Tom Hat finds lost property, and where Thomas and Sir Tom Hat find lost property, and they goof around, I think. It's been a while.
When Thomas is found, Sir Topham throws off his hat and tries to hold back tears. He then says he can always get another hat, but he'll never have another Thomas.
That's because he would say that to any engine. Plus, that really displays that he really cares for his engines about their well-being. Like, for example, he's like, I could get you another hitch, but I can't get you another chumish. He didn't mean it to be lovely. Plus, it was of joy because he finally found his engine. Plus, in my Thomas reboot, they're best friend. So he's Sir Tom Hat's best friend, and Sir Tom Hat, Sir Tom Hat, Percy, and Toby are Thomas's best friends in my Thomas reboot. But anyways,
Pretty creepy. He also declared Thomas to be train number 1 because he is number 1 in his heart.
no, that's because he was given the number 1 because of if you watch the special The Adventure Begins with 2015, it's because He was given that number after the previous number one, the coffee pot engine Glenn or whatever.
How sweet.
No, it's not sweet or creepy.
And in our number one spot, we have the insane tyrant.
So Tom Hat is not a tyrant.
So the Bat Controller is the manager of the Northwestern Railway. And
Finally, you got another thing right. Plus, it's controller anyways.
officially out of control.
No, he's not.
So manipulative and endlessly tortures and enslaves the trains.
No, he doesn't. He cares for his engines.
That's because he is slowly seeping deeper into madness and losing his mind. Let me explain. So, Sir Topham Hatt has given the trains very cruel punishments. For example, there was an episode where it was raining and Henry the Train didn't want to ruin his paints.
And that's coming.
So he stayed inside it.
Oh crap, there's 2 ads. Great double trouble. Well, we just stop with the advertisements. Mark. And there's a stupid airhead commercial.
Tunnel. Now, the Bat Controller didn't like this and
Okay, Henry was just in there because he just got repainted and he didn't want to get his paint ruined.
wanted to get Henry out. When all of his attempts to get Henry out of the tunnel failed,
Yes, they all failed, and plus, even when it stopped raining, Henry had no plans because according to him, yes, but it will begin again soon. Well, becoming my stripes then, huh?
he decided to punish him by working him in the tunnel.
It was only for a little while. I mean, it was let on the next episode when Gordon burst his safety valve, and he had to help Edward pull the express, and Henry learned his lesson.
That's right. He built a brick wall so Henry wouldn't be able to escape the tunnel, and he would have to live in there alone in the dark for the rest of his life.
It was only the front. I mean, if someone could just walk in, relight Henry's fire, get some cold water, and just reverse him out, that could be possible. Plus, I don't think Awdry meant it to be like that. I think it's when like a bride child was sent to his room sort of thing.
What kind of messed up punishment is that? Like, he even said, "We shall take away your rails and leave you here for always and always."
No, he said, we shall take away your rails and leave you here for always and always and always.
He ended by saying, "I think he deserved his punishment. Don't you?"
No. The narrator said it, not Sir Tom Hat. Besides, that was the UK version. In the American version, George Carlin, the narrator, says, how long do you think Henry will stay in the tunnel before he's allowed to come out and pull coaches again?
Like, he has no chill. Also,
He has tons
he
of
lets
chill.
us see the trains struggle.
No, he
often
doesn't.
Withholds useful information from the trains, resulting in them having conflicts that they need to solve themselves. These could have been avoided if he literally told the trains, but no, he'd rather see them suffer.
Not once has he ever done that. Give me one piece of evidence. None, well, on screen at least.
And that's all for today's video. Let's move on to our comment shout-out.
Oh, thank God that crap ended. Yeah, I'm glad that piece of bullshit ended. So for the whole Thomas engine, this thing, and it's like in my series, Edward was the first one on. In the order of the engines was there was 3 railways: the Tidmouth, Knapford, and Ellsbridge Light Railway, the Wesworth, Marin, and Sudbury Railway, and the Zolder Mainland Railway. The Zolder Mainland Railway had Neil, Clive, and Matthew, 3 box engines. The Wellsworth and Sudbury Railway had Adam, Colin, Lily, 3 maroon-colored Victorian era engines, and the Northwestern had Glenn, the coffee pot engine, Edward, and Toby. Then when the railway was formed, Neil, Clive, and most of the I don't know how to explain this. Then Neil, Clive, and Matthew, Adam, Colin, Lily retire or something. They don't get scrapped. Then Gordon arrives to help form the passenger service. Then Henry arrives to do goods, even though he fails until he gets rebuilt into his new form. Then in 1928, Thomas is built at Croven Gate Works. And he's an E2 like his older brother, Timothy, who will appear in it. And, okay, no, that's on it. Not it. Okay, so anyways. I was wrong. The Timothy Knapford and Ellsworth Lightwear, we actually had Timothy, Thomas's older brother, who's a Silver E2, Edward, and Toby. And Glenn was like an engine that helped to build the railway. Anyways, and Gordon and Henry then arrive at different points, and then Thomas arrives. Built after Thomas. Built after Timothy. And Neil, Clive, Matthew, Adam, Colin, and Lily aren't retired. They're just undocumented and mostly doing their own things, like station pilots and stuff. Thomas was the one at Vickerstown, but before getting his branch line after saving James. Then James came, and then when Gordon, Henry, and James went on strike, Percy was purchased. And then Doc was purchased in the 50s to help Percy out. And then onwards, we have the other engines that came, like Donald, Douglas, Mavis, Boko, Bill, Ben, Emily, Spencer, Murdoch, Arthur, Hank, Scarlouis, and no, not Scarlouis and Rheneas. They were already there. And not on the narrow gauge really, but anyways, that's confusing, I know. But there's also Stanley, Billy, Charlie, Scruff, Stafford, and many others I could get into, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna make a separate video. I'm actually making a wiki about my Thomas reboot, and yeah, you should really check it out. Links in the description. Anyways, the recording is going on for about 42 minutes. I'm delirious from that shit video. Thomas had never seen such bullshit before. Anyways, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you're new here, and if you really liked it, don't just subscribe. Follow me on my Thomas Reboot Wiki. I love you all, and stay safe, everyone. Take care. Peace out.